I've been always a fan of America the Beautiful. I love the simple, beautiful melody of it.
Min Kwon, New Jersey-based arts advocate, a professor at Mason Gross School of the Arts, and a world-class pianist, commissioned more than 70 composers to create variations on America the Beautiful. Min began premiering the new works on July 4th, 2021, in a series of streaming performances, many of them recorded right here at Grace Church in Newark.
As I started the project, of course, I started to doing research on the song itself, who wrote it, where was it written, And I was so pleasantly surprised that it was written probably right here because the composer was working here as the choir director.
Sam Ward, who wrote the tune to America the Beautiful, the tune name is Materna. He wrote it here in the 1890s when he was organist music director at Grace Church. The tune, Mother Dear Jerusalem, you can tell that the Materna is from Mother Dear Jerusalem, and that was the original text that it was set to.
In 1910, a popular poem by Wellesley College professor and social reformer Catherine Lee Bates was set to Samuel Ward's melody. America the Beautiful was an instant hit.
And there has been so many different versions of the song, sung by so many different icons in American music.
He crowned my good. He told me he would save his brotherhood.
Min Kwon contacted a wide range of composers to create variations on the familiar song. She emailed and Zoomed with them during the locked-down summer and fall of 2020, one of America's darkest times.
Your prompt, Min, of thinking about America the Beautiful and the piece coming together as, all these varied people in the United States. So I decided to call it United Underdog to think about the people who maybe don't have visas, who are stuck across the border, or who are working here in the pandemic without health insurance. And so that's my dedication, is for the unhoused, the incarcerated, the black, brown, yellow, trans and gender non-conforming domestic workers, food gatherers, delivery essential workers, and underdogs that make these United States.
I knew that I was kind of catching them at their most vulnerable moments. We were all confined in our little space. So composers, when I gave this call to please write something in America Beautiful, first reaction, of course, that I got from many of them is like, what do you mean America is not beautiful? It's the last thing I'm thinking about right now. And it took some persuasion, but I'm pretty persuasive, I think. And I said, that's exactly why we have to do this project now. I wanted to really show that even musicians of so many different styles and sounds and philosophy can all come together on the same common goal or purpose and create something that's very new and powerful and moving.
Everybody in the bus was basically Japanese-American Nisei, born in the United States, second generation, who had lived in the camps, and we were all doing this reunion. And they broke out into America the Beautiful. And I was just shocked. They were starting to cry, and they were all singing the song.
As I got to learn, adopt, and kind of absorb, assimilate their language, the way that they express themselves, that became a really wonderful lesson for me, as an artist, also as just a human being.
Each composer took a different approach, including some who traveled far from the original tune.
I changed the melody, and I changed the harmony, and I changed the rhythm. So I don't know what's left, and there's no lyrics, so you can't really I don't know. If you have to hear it in context to know that it is somehow connected to the piece.
When Min asked jazz composer and pianist Vijay Iyer to write a variation, the pandemic was in its most lethal phase.
I didn't really want to write a song in tribute to this nation or any nation, in a time of mass suffering, and mass death brought about because of politics. In fact, I just wasn't going to do it, and I was ready to say no, but something just drew me to the piano. I said, yeah, this is a terrible idea, and I started playing, and then just in that moment I came up with this version that I wrote out for Min. It's almost like a perspective on the nation from an outsider's place.
Vijay brings a different perspective to the project. It's mourning about our, state of the country, but in sort of very kind of Zen kind of way that this is what it is, and we endure.
Min's project grew. She's recorded more than 6 hours of newly composed music.
Artistically, it's inspired by a project that about 200 years ago, a very famous Viennese music publisher named Anton Diabelli. He wrote a little simple waltz, and then he gave it to about 50 composers that were active in Vienna around that time, because Vienna being the center of classical music, and asked them to write a little variation on this waltz.
The Beethoven Diabelli I love. Most people don't know those other variations that were written by composers in Vienna at the time that included Schubert and Liszt and so on. Beethoven wrote 33 variations.
And this is the Diabelli variation that everybody knows. And I remember talking to Sebastian. I was kind of joking, how long do you want this to be? And I said, well, maybe 2-3 minutes, but I leave it to you if you get inspired like Beethoven did, I'm not going to stop you.
I've always enjoyed doing miniatures. And so actually my piece is only 6 minutes long, but it's 23 variations. So they're 10 seconds each. They're very short. Yeah, that's okay like that.
Yeah.
Spanning over 4 live streams and 2 in-person concerts, America Beautiful brings together works by a diverse group, including many of the most original composers of our time. Min Kwon, herself an immigrant from South Korea, calls it a literal United Composers of America.
I feel very American, having lived here over 30 years now. And it's really in my DNA. I think the spirit of America, the strength, the tenacity, diversity, everything that the country represents. I am proud of my country.